by Riverside.
Well, it's so good to have you on the show. How's your day going?
That's going fine. Hello, Keith. Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to have you too. So let's get to know you a bit better. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Well, the best piece of advice I've ever received is that, let's see, however inherent a superstition has come to be uh, by virtue of either trust by innocence, forced by order, or an upbringing you couldn't change, in the end, you still have the the you still have uh, the right to make a choice to change anything. And that was from my dad. So I try to quote him exactly, but it was a one-time thing. I just try not to forget it.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm glad he probably knows that you still remember it. I give my kids all kind of wisdom they don't remember. So,
Yeah.
so I'm curious. You think back in your life, who are some people that serve to inspire you in your journey?
A lot of people, but I like to think the natural. I think Barack Obama, the first time I actually felt, really inspired by someone who was alive when I was also a young man, was Barack Obama. But naturally, I think MLK Jr., Mandela, naturally, and in a very strange way, my dad too.
You want to clarify in a very strange way your dad?
Yes, yes. My dad was someone, the way I described him, I described my dad as an unreligious prophet. He lived his life in a way that made me want to live differently. I didn't want to be him whatsoever. I didn't want to reflect anything, about my dad. But as a man, just looking back and trying to understand him better, I mean, he was tremendously talented. He had so much goodness in him. There was so much good in him and so much unusual gift, but that he couldn't put into use because I don't think he had the right environment to shape those talents and gifts. And I just can't imagine what my dad could have made of himself, if he had the
Right.
support that I think I have today.
Oh, that's neat. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So your story was inspiring to me. So tell our audience your personal journey.
Well, my personal journey started in Nigeria. I was born and raised in Nigeria, and it was quite interesting. It's very easy to sit here and tell people, well, it was rough and went through hard times. I would sound so cliche, but the truth was, I went through the things that people could only read in books or watching the movies or hear about. From living in the middle of nowhere and just aspiring to just come out of it and to create a better life for me and my family. And I think for me, the turning point was when I was 7 years old, and my mom was just severely abused at the time. And I remember looking at her, holding her tightly and promising her that, look, I'm going to become a doctor. I'm going to become an American citizen. I'm going to take you away from here, where you can have a better life and live the life you always envisioned for yourself. And I was only 7 years old, but I never looked back. And ever since from then, I think through my primary school, secondary school, I mean, you can imagine what that means at the grade and the middle school and all that. And then going off to college, and then becoming a doctor and still having that dream and just knowing that there's something special for me here in the United States. For people, it's different places. For me, I knew it was here and there was something I could do here, and um, that could be more fulfilling for me. And I think between my mother and my siblings, a lot of them also, they looked up to me. My mom's first, and eventually I secured scholarships to come down to the United States, even after I became a veterinary surgeon. Uh, and that's how my journey in the United States started, and I joined the enlisted in the Navy, even though I had a medical degree and had a master's degree from here in the U.S. I enlisted because I didn't have citizenship. And then I got naturalized in the Navy, and now with that, I was able to commission to the United States Air Force. And I didn't do anything medical, maybe a little bit of medical in the Air Force, but it was mostly no medical. So I did that in the Air Force, and then from there transitioned as a civilian, spent some time in the Air Force, in the well, as a civilian in the Pentagon, in the Air Force, and then now in the Space Force.
So, as an immigrant coming over here, what kind of things did you experience in America that you had to overcome?
A lot of things, starting starting with the choice of words. In Nigeria, we learn in British English, and coming here, you say some things, and people look at you, surprised that, well, you don't have to say that. Just just so you're in a hurry. Don't say in haste or something. Don't use the word seldom. Trousers instead of pants, and it was funny. The words are just very different. Trying to get past that, and so we can communicate efficiently, effectively with people around you, and also, the part where I think my first experience with racism was interesting, and it's something that you watch in the movies and you've seen before, and coming from a place where it wasn't a thing that you have to think of, think about it. It was interesting, but there were challenges, with, yes, the culture shock, with use of words, how Americans are more individualistic than coming, or I come from, we live in a community, kind of like you. It's always we, not I, mentality where I grew up. And then, the idea of raising kids and how people grew up here, it was interesting, and it was just really hard to fathom. I think for me at the time, how someone could not like somebody else because of the way they sounded or the way they looked. It took me some time to process that. And then I think after a while, I started expecting. I expected it. I planned for it. I made conscious decision to always move forward, no matter what. What was important was I had to remain focused to get where I have to get to, and just let those things roll off my shoulders. Yes.
Talk about the difference in America about the sense of community not being here. So, how do you, coming with that sense of community from Nigeria, how do you maintain that, or how do you encourage that in your setting now?
Honestly, some people aren't religious. I'm a Christian. I'm proud about being a Christian, and I think uh, my church is number one. I think for me, well, I would say my house, my home. The way I raise my kids and my family. There's a sense of commitment to our community. We have to be active in our community and touch people's lives the best way we can, just the way people pay it forward, in our lives as well. And I think, the church is also a beautiful place where, if it could be through volunteer, it could be just active participation in events and activities. It could be what you do for other kids, uh, both in your local, especially in church, personally for me. And then outside the church, my kids, they play sports. Those are opportunities also to connect with other parents, other kids. And I think at work, those translate um, in a way that we don't we are not conscious of, how the people that work for you, the people you work for, how you genuinely care for them and their welfares. Uh, the mission in the military, we like to say the mission is very important, but without the people, the mission cannot be accomplished. I think it translates in a way where you genuinely care for your people, and they feel it, they know it. So naturally the work gets done. you know and I think all of that, I can attribute that to also my grandma, my grandma raised us. 5:30 in the morning we awake, and my grandma was a Muslim, so like she sends all of us to the mosque, and we're like doing the prayer cries in the morning. You have to wake everyone up, and you have to fill all the kettles with water, so when people come around, they have water to do their ablution and wash off. You sweep the mosque, you sweep. She made us do all that, growing up. And I think, and then we go home and do our regular chores like sweeping the house, the compound. Even the neighbor, if the neighbor is older, you have an old person around the house, you have to go there and clean up their homes like almost every day, things like that. So it's just something that becomes part and parcel of you.
They taught you to care for other people growing up. So I like that sense of community.
Yes.
I want to talk about your book. That's why I kind of had you on. You have a new book out, Underground, a memoir of hope, faith, and the American dream. Tell us what led you to write this book.
Thanks, Keith. Well, let me the books. It wasn't supposed to be a book. When we had my daughter in 2010, and I'm the first to come here, I wanted to leave a record for them, for my daughter. And then my son arrived in 2013 and said, okay, now I need to actually have this record because, number one, I pray for long life, but for a long life. I don't know how long I'm going to live for, but I want my grandchildren, great grandchildren, who might probably not look anything like me, to have a sort of a record they can go to and understand how it all began, here in the United States, about the heritage, where they come from, and what brought me here, and the things I've had to go through to build a foundation that I'm building for the generation from where it all started, from my generation. And hopefully, and the plan really was, I wanted them to not take anything for granted. I want them to understand the privileges, in front of them, open their eyes and make the most of their lives. That was the intent of writing the record I was putting together. But I think I was 3/4 through and writing, up to where I was then in the Air Force. And then I gave it to my wife to kind of go over what I had written. And, she went through a couple. I didn't even have them in chapters then. It was just a very long,
Very long letter.
epistle, a very long epistle. And she went through half of it and just started crying. And if you know my wife, um, she doesn't cry like that. She's tough, And for that to touch her, and she said, you have to turn this into a book. He said, there's so much emotions coming out of you that you've never expressed before, that you've never told me before. And I don't know how you're standing here today after experiencing all that. So now I try to put two and two together, and I see why some things happen when, the way you see things sometimes. And so you have to convert it into a book. So that's how I started actively, trying to convert that into a book. And I wrote my queries and sent my queries out to New York literary agents, and I was getting, interest, from even literary agencies, and that was when I knew there was something special about it. So I just went all in and, really write the book well and just have it out there.
Your journey is interesting. So what message do you want people who may be dealing with things in their life right now that are difficult? What message do you want them to take away from reading your book?
I think the core of the message is that I want people to understand that no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, they can turn their dreams to realities. They can envision something that's precious, that's dear to them, and they can plan, they can set goals and achieve it if they plan, if they're ready to do the work, right? They will experience failures, but we cannot let failures deter us from the things we want to accomplish. We have to press forward and take those lessons with us. I think it's also important that both immigrants, immigrants and non-immigrants alike, that they acknowledge the privileges and opportunities around them and take advantage of those opportunities, and understand that with love, with hope, and faith, there aren't any limitation to how far they can go in life. You have to see it, you have to believe it, and you got to be able to do the work.
Interesting. I just saw a survey that said that more people today are down on America than ever before. And that's across all political lines. Part of your book is the American dream. For people right now who are just feeling down on America, how do you keep your hopefulness about the American dream?
This is something I get quite a bit, about people's perception of American dream and in today, uh, uh, today America, what we're experiencing. So let me quickly start out by saying, so my vision of American Dream started with when I was probably about 6, 7 years old, watching movies like Top Gun, Rocky Balboa, No Retreat, No Surrender, stories that highlight that shows that how people can set their heart to go through tremendous amount of pain, difficulty, and come out on top standing. But each one of those people understood what the American dream was. You need to identify what your American dream is. It's not about becoming a millionaire, billionaire, and things like that, having a dog in the house with a family of three. None of that. you know, for me, my vision was that promise I made to my mom when I was 7 years old, right? The battered woman who I knew had dreams and aspirations, and she couldn't see it happening at the time. And the core of that pain for me was that I need to make this happen. And my American dream was my mom, my siblings. I chose America. That's me, right? Bringing them here to America and believing that they can make the most of themselves. If they may decide to go somewhere else, but my goal was to make that happen here. And I'll say that happened in 2013 when my mom finally came to the US. She's a citizen now, got a green card then. I filed for her while I was in the Navy. And for me, that was it. I mean, I remember, going on my knees and telling God, you've done everything I asked of you. Anything that happens from here on are bonuses, you know, but I didn't let it end there. I realized I could aspire bigger, I could dream bigger, I could aim for, because God just showed me that, look, I just took care of something that's really important to you at 33 years of age. So what are you going to do now? And that's when I started saying, higher bars. And I can tell you that every challenge that I've had to face or every goal that I've set for myself ever since to achieve an additional dream, like, okay, my dream is to become this, to work in the Pentagon, for example, and then I achieve it. I need to acknowledge that's an American dream. America answered, God answered my prayers. America honored me. And it's in this land that those things have actually happened to me, right? It's I think if we can learn to appreciate them and thank you for those little things and just understanding that those are dreams that we aspire and we're accomplishing them, no matter how little they are, people are come to appreciate better, what they have, even here in America, but again, the most important thing is you need to understand what your dream, if your dream is the English dream or the Nigerian dream, or you just have to know what it is. Could be anywhere. But for me, I knew what my dream was, and I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to be in this country, and I'm proud for what this country has given to me.
Something you said that kind of sticks in my mind about the American dream is there is this sense of individual accomplishment in America. And I think when someone coming from a country that's more communal based, it's a different aspect of, we're all striving to be the best we can be. How do you do that in a community setting? Is that the problem that maybe some people struggle with when they come here? It's like it's so individualistic. It doesn't seem like it's a community, but it's like a bunch of individuals aiming for their own individual piece of the American dream.
I think that there are pros and cons, and there's a little bit of both in both sides of the world, right? So in America, we we cherish the hard work that people, Elon Musk, for example, Mark Zuckerberg, these guys started with nothing and they built something, and it's just that one name. There's also the aspiration from a place like Nigeria where it's very community based, right? That to have that amount of achievement as well. But the process might be a little different. The process for me, for example, finding my fulfillment, I believe I could find that in the in the happiness of others, in this just seeing smile, and there are a lot of people like that here in the US as well, you know. But the way we go about this are different. So for me, for example, if what I'm doing um, y- y- does not play any role in the lives of other people, I'm not touching lives. I'm not finding fulfillment in it. I don't care how much money comes from that. I'm not speaking for myself now, not for every Nigerian, right? Uh, I might probably just stop. I most likely stop doing it, even no matter how profitable it is, and just do something else that might be less profitable, but that's more fulfilling for me. Now, on the American side, I think it's very easy, even for my children. From day one, it's like it's mine, it's mine. Between my two kids, you can't touch my. And then you're constantly telling them to share, because joy comes from sharing. But it's hard for them to understand joy comes from sharing, because what they're learning outside is different. It's mine, you don't touch it. It's my space, don't come in my space. When I was growing up, there was no such thing as my space, in my space. We can be in the face of each other, yelling at each other. We were all passionate about everything and just happy, and we are hugging, and you know, things like that. I think um, even here, people can become successful as individuals, but can touch out so many other lives in the process. But I think the way I was brought up is that the ultimate joy I know comes from touching other people's lives through the things that I'm doing. If no matter how successful I am, if it doesn't impact other people's lives positively, I'm wasting my time. You know.
Good reminder.
Yeah.
So, as you think about your life right now, what are things you're excited about these days? Because you got your book coming out, it's out. What else are you excited about?
I think I'm excited about uh, Solani. Solani is an educational nonprofit that my wife and I have been working on since January 2021. Uh, our mission really is to provide scholarships to international students here in the United States struggling to pay their tuition. I was in that situation when I came here after after I transferred from my first program to to the other one. I didn't have money to pay. It was rough and difficult, and I don't think I want anyone else to go through that if I can prevent that from happening. I'm excited about the potential to be able to contribute to so many lives in a way that enables them to achieve their dreams and hopefully pay it forward as well. And second category are also third and fourth year medical students that are committed to specializing in oncology and geriatric medicine. So where I come from, your parents take care of you, you grow up, right? And then they get really old, and then you have to take them in and take care of them. We don't take them to senior homes. So
Right.
it's just how life's the cycle of life, right? And I don't think we do more enough for our the older population in the United States. We could do more, and the idea is to encourage our doctors, to look more into specializing in that field. And oncology, the people I love that dear, that I love so much died from cancer. My dad and my godmother when I was growing up. Uh, and they died really early, both of them, 40 something and 50 something. And the way cancer is like ravishing, going around and just, um, really affecting people. Hopefully, we can have people that specialize and can educate the population better about ways to prevent um, those things from shortening their life, their lives. I think the better. So I'm excited about what will happen in the future. We are still looking for sponsors and things like that. Hopefully that kicks in eventually, and we can actively start, really touching lives with that.
That's awesome. I love that. I love to ask my guests this question. What do you want your legacy to be?
Legacy. Let's see, legacy. I, I, I say personally, I try to live my life in a way that's fulfilling for me, in a way that I'm able to give account of the gift and the talent that I have been blessed with. I want to be able to live my life to the fullest. And I want to be able to smile in my dying moments and be pleased about how I've lived my life. But what I also hope is that the that the people around me or just people can look at the way I've lived, my accomplishments, my achievement, what I stood for, and be inspired to pursue that important thing, even if it's just one thing in their lives, and turn their dreams and visions into reality. Uh, and and then I think, on a personal note, I want my great grandchildren, to look back and see a record of what's achievable, the things that I went through, which I'm probably not. I mean, they're if you think you're experiencing the worst thing in life, you need to just listen to other people's stories and realize things could be much worse, right?
Right.
But even at that, I want them to be able to go back and find some inspiration in how powerful love, hope, and faith can be, and how you can, harness and channel into those gifts and make and build something so tangible out of nothing, and just hopefully I touch so many lives. So I'm of the opinion that one of the greatest things you can accomplish in life is to touch other people's lives in a way that they are inspired to do the same for others. And I just really hope I could just start that ripple, of event, and I really hope that could be my legacy. People can look back and say, oh, that's where mine started from, you know. Um,
I love that. That's inspiring.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that I should have asked you?
I think I think we should leave the um the rest of the story or gist for folks to find out in the book.
That's right. That's right. And since you mentioned the book, where can they find your book, Underground, a memoir of hope, faith, and the American dream?
Okay, so I have a terrible habit of telling people, "Oh, you can find it everywhere. Just Google my name and my book title, and you see it. And it's on Amazon, and you can find it in Barnes and Nobles and all these interesting stores. But really, I think one stop shop is my website, and my website is simply my name .com, like www.dejiayoade single word.com. And on that site, you will find so much more than my book. Actually, you click on the book, it takes you to where it's available. And if you want to listen to the podcast I've been on or articles that I've written that are published out there, you can get on there and get to know more about me, what I stand for, and how I'm trying to get better as well, in life, and how I want to contribute to my society, and you know, hopefully people find some inspiring things on there as well.
Well, you have an inspiring story, and I really do pray people will look up your book and get to know more about you. Can they find you on social media somewhere as well?
Yes, I'm on Facebook as Deji Ayoade, single word. Uh, Actually, I'm wrong. It's not a single word. We changed that. It's just Deji Ayoade. I'm on Facebook, and then same thing on Instagram, same thing on Twitter. So just at Deji Ayoade, and you should see on Instagram. You see something like the memoir blogger. That's the handle, but that's me. And you can connect with me however you want to, DM um, or an email, however you want to reach to me, and I'll be more than happy to respond.
Well, Doc, thanks so much for being on the show. We appreciate you and for sharing your story to inspire us, to encourage us, to remind us that while we shoot for the American dream, we do that best when we share the gifts and the talents and abilities that God is giving us with those around us, because we lift everybody up by the gifts that God has shared with us as well, always for the
That's
common
right.
good. So thank you for your message of hope and the inspiring book you left for us to kind of learn and dig into you, and also find out how God has uniquely worked and gifted you in your life. So thank you for being open about your story.
Thank you so much, Keith. This is a wonderful. It is wonderful to have this opportunity to sit here with you and share my story, and probably we've talked about a few things here today that might, help spring someone out there into acting on something they really want to do. But thank you for the platform. I appreciate it.
Blessings.
Yes, sir. Bye.